Human medic refused to leave wounded alien general. Now she commands him to stay forever. Vincent Hayes had exactly 90 seconds to decide between orders and conscience. His hands moved across blue skin slick with blood, darker than human, almost purple, where it pooled in the deep gashes across her torso. The alien woman's breathing came in shallow gasps, each one weaker than the last. Shattered armor lay scattered around them, gold inlays dulled by mud and gore. Hayes, respond. We are leaving this position in 60 seconds, with or without you. Colonel Hendrick's voice crackled through his helmet comm. Vincent didn't answer. His fingers pressed gauze against the worst wounds while his other hand fumbled for the coagulant injector. The woman's eyes moved beneath closed lids. 45 seconds. He'd found her half buried in torn vegetation left behind after the skirmish. Her people had retreated north. His unit was pulling back south. No one stayed behind, no one except the dying. The coagulant hissed as he pressed it against her side. She jerked weakly. Good. Pain meant her nervous system still functioned. Combat medic training had given him the ability to narrow the world down to the patient, the wounds, the treatment. Hayes, I'm giving you a direct order. Fall back to the extraction point now. 30 seconds. Her eyes opened. Vincent froze. They were striking, deep amber with flecks of gold, pupils dilated in pain and shock. They fixed on him with sudden, absolute focus. Her hand shot up despite her injuries and seized his wrist in a grip like iron. Easy, he said. She blinked, chest heaving. Her gaze traveled from his face to the medical insignia on his armor, to her own wounds, to his hands covered in her blood. Her features were striking. High cheekbones, strong jaw, skin that seemed to glow even in the jungle shadows. Her hair, vivid pink despite being matted with dirt, spread across the ground. You are human, she said. Her voice was rough, accented in ways that made the syllables sound clipped. I'm a medic. Her grip tightened. With her other hand, she reached down to her thigh, movements clumsy. Vincent saw the blade too late, a short, curved thing from her boot. She pressed it against his throat hard enough that he felt the edge bite skin. Hayes, 10 seconds or you're listed as MIA. He heard the extraction craft's engines powering up in the distance. Her hand trembled against his neck. The blade didn't. Why, she asked. Why what? Why save me? Each word cost her. You should have let me die. Vincent met her eyes. That's not what I do. She stared at him. Blood ran down his neck where the blade had nicked him. The extraction craft's engines reached full power, then began to fade as it lifted off without him. Colonel Hendricks stopped calling. They're gone, he said quietly. Something shifted in her expression. She glanced at the darkening sky where the craft had disappeared, then back to him. You stayed. You were dying. Not if you let me finish. Her grip on the blade wavered. He watched the internal struggle play across her face, training warring with the simple need to survive. Finally, slowly she lowered the weapon. Her hand fell away from his throat, but her eyes never left his. If this is a trick, she said. It's not. Vincent returned to work. He pulled apart the remains of her armor, cutting away straps and buckles. The metal had saved her life, but had also trapped shrapnel against her skin. He extracted 3 pieces, dropping each into the mud. She bit back a sound. Her hand found his knee and gripped it, nails digging in through his armor. Talk to me, he said. Stay conscious. What do you want me to say? Your name would be a start. She laughed, bitter. You don't give names to the dead. You're not dead. I was. My people left me. That makes me dead to them. Vincent paused, meeting her eyes. Why would they leave you? Her jaw tightened. For a moment he thought she wouldn't answer. I refused an order 3 days ago. We had human civilians cornered in a settlement. Children. My commander ordered execution. I said no. His hands stilled. She watched his reaction with the intensity of someone expecting judgment. What happened? He asked. Another officer carried out the order. I was removed from command. Today's battle was supposed to be my redemption. Die honorably, restore my family's name. Her lips twisted. Instead, I failed at that too, and now the enemy is saving my life. Vincent resumed working, but his mind raced. He'd seen the aftermath of that settlement. High Command had used it to justify the next offensive. but if she'd refused the order... His hand brushed against something hard attached to her belt. A data storage unit, military grade, several of them strapped in a concealed pouch. "What are these?" he asked. Her eyes widened. "Don't..." He'd already pulled one free. His suit computer could read it. He hesitated, looking at her. "Please," she said, and the word sounded foreign in her mouth. "If you're going to kill me, do it now. Don't look at those." "I'm not going to kill you." "Then you're a fool. Those chips will make you a target for both our armies." Vincent connected the chip to his wrist computer. Data flooded the screen, communication logs, encrypted channels, conversation records between her command structure and... He frowned. The third signature wasn't human. Wasn't her species either. "What is this?" he asked. She closed her eyes. "Proof." "Of what?" "That we've both been lied to. That this war was manufactured. That someone else has been feeding intelligence to both sides, manipulating every engagement." She opened her eyes. "I found these in my commander's personal files after he ordered that massacre. I was trying to get these to someone who could broadcast them when this happened." A sound echoed through the jungle. Engines, but not human. Her people's ships had a different signature, a deeper thrumming, her head turned toward it. "They're coming back," she said, "probably to confirm I'm dead." Vincent made a decision. He pulled her arm over his shoulder and slid his other arm under her knees, lifting her. She was heavier than a human woman would be, but adrenaline made him strong. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Getting us both out of here." "Why would you do this?" "I held a blade to your throat." Vincent started moving through the jungle, away from both human and alien positions. The data chips were secured in his pack. She was secured in his arms. "My name is Ashira," she said quietly. "Ashira Veltan." "Vincent Hayes." "You should have left me to die, Vincent Hayes." He adjusted his grip, feeling her heartbeat against his chest, faster than human, a different rhythm, but alive. "That's not what I do, Ashira." Her hand moved to grip his armor, holding on as he carried her into the darkness. Vincent's shoulders burned by the time he found shelter. The abandoned supply station was half collapsed, vines claiming what remained of the walls, but the roof held. He lowered Ashira onto a section of floor, his legs shaking from exertion. She hadn't spoken since he'd started carrying her. Now her eyes tracked his movements as he pulled emergency supplies from his pack: thermal blanket, water purification tablets, what remained of his medical kit. "You need to let me check those wounds again," he said. "Why do you care?" "Because you'll die if they get infected." "That would solve your problem." Vincent looked at her directly. "You're not my problem." She studied him, head tilted. Blood had dried on her skin, making the blue darker in places. Her armor was scattered across the jungle behind them, leaving her in the underlayer, a flexible material that clung to her form. She caught him looking, and something flickered in her expression. "Your people find us attractive," she said. Heat crept up his neck. "I'm checking for injuries." "That's not what I asked." Vincent moved closer, kneeling beside her. "This is going to hurt." "Everything hurts." He peeled back the temporary bandaging. The coagulant had done its job, but the wounds needed proper cleaning. She watched his face as he worked, not the injuries. Her breathing stayed controlled even when he pressed antiseptic-soaked cloth against torn flesh. "You didn't answer my question," she said. "Does it matter? I want to know if you saved me because I'm a person or because I look enough like your females to trigger some protective instinct." His hands paused. He met her eyes. "I saved you because leaving you to die wasn't an option I could live with." "But you do find me attractive." "I find you alive. That's what matters." Her lips curved slightly. Diplomatic answer. "I'm a medic, not a diplomat." Yet here you are, making peace one patient at a time. Vincent applied fresh bandaging, fingers working with practiced efficiency. The silence stretched between them, broken only by jungle sounds and her occasional sharp intake of breath. When he finished, he sat back. "We need to talk about those data chips," he said. The almost smile vanished. "What about them?" "If what's on them is real, it's real. Then we need to get them to someone who can use them." Ashira shifted, trying to sit up. Pain flashed across her face, but she pushed through it, leaning back against the wall. Who? Your command will think it's a trap. Mine already tried to kill me for finding them. There are neutral parties, diplomatic corps. Diplomats. She said the word like a curse, the kind who negotiate while populations die. You have a better idea? Yes, we find whoever is behind this and we kill them. Vincent sat back. You're in no condition for revenge. This isn't revenge, this is survival. She leaned forward, amber eyes intense. Whoever orchestrated this war won't stop just because we expose them. He didn't have a counter-argument. Vincent pulled out the data chip and connected it to his portable reader, expanding the display. Then we start by understanding what we're dealing with. They spent the next hour reviewing the files. The more Vincent read, the clearer the pattern became. The third party had been planning this for years. False flag operations blamed on both sides. Intelligence leaks designed to escalate tensions. Even the opening shots traced back to manufactured provocations. They're good, Ashira said. Each move small enough to seem natural, but together. A coordinated campaign, Vincent scrolled through another log. The question is why? Resources, territory. Maybe they just enjoy watching lesser species tear themselves apart. You don't believe that. She looked at him. What do you believe? That there's always a reason. Vincent closed the display. Outside, night sounds intensified, something large moving through the undergrowth. Ashira's head turned toward the sound, body tensing. Relax, Vincent said. Kalreth cats, they're territorial but they avoid structures. You've studied our world. I study everywhere they send me, knowing the terrain keeps people alive. Is that what you see when you look at me, terrain to navigate? The question caught him off guard. She was watching him with that same intensity, as if trying to read something his words wouldn't reveal. I see someone who refused to murder children, he said. Someone who was willing to die rather than become what her commanders wanted. That's what I see. Something in her posture shifted, the defensive edge softened. Your people would have killed me without hesitation. Probably. Yet you stayed. I told you, that's what you do, yes. She shifted closer, movements slow despite her injuries. But there are hundreds of medics in your army. Would any of them have made the same choice? Vincent considered the question. I don't know. I think you do. She reached out, fingers brushing the blood still dried on his neck where her blade had cut him. I think you knew exactly what you were choosing, death or desertion. I chose you. The words came out before he could stop them. Ashira's hand stilled against his throat, her fingers warm against his pulse point. Why, she asked. 'Cause in that moment you mattered more than orders. Her thumb traced along his jawline. You don't know me. I know enough. You know I'm a killer. And I know you stopped when it stopped serving your conscience. She leaned closer. He could feel her breath, could see the gold flecks in her amber eyes. Her hand slid around to the back of his neck. This is a mistake, she said. Probably. We should focus on survival. We should. Neither moved away. The space between them contracted, charged with something that had nothing to do with the war or their armies hunting them. A distant sound shattered the moment. Engines, multiple sources, converging. Ashira pulled back immediately, her expression shifting to tactical. They've found us, she said. Vincent was already moving, grabbing his pack and securing the data chips. How much can you move? Enough. She pushed herself to her feet, teeth gritted. We need to head east. There's a communications relay station about 20 kilometers from here. Neutral ground. We can broadcast the evidence. If we survive that long. Vincent pulled her arm over his shoulder, taking some of her weight. Then we'd better start moving. They slipped out the back as searchlights swept the front. The jungle swallowed them, but Vincent could feel time running out. The forces hunting them were coordinated now, working together despite being from opposing sides, which meant the evidence they carried was more dangerous than he'd realized. Dawn broke through the canopy in shafts of amber light, turning the jungle into a cathedral of green and gold. Vincent had carried Ashira through most of the night, setting her down only when his legs threatened to give out completely. Now they rested in a shallow ravine hidden beneath overhanging ferns while search parties passed overhead. Ashira's skin had taken on a grayish tint beneath the blue. Infection, despite his best efforts. She needed real medical care, not field patches and stolen moments between running. "How far to the relay station?" he asked. 10 kilometers, maybe less. Her voice was weaker than it had been. "There's a river we'll need to cross. The current is strong this season." Vincent checked his supplies, 1 coagulant injector left, half a pack of antiseptic wipes, some bandaging. Not enough. Not nearly enough. "I need to see your wounds," he said. She didn't argue this time, which worried him more than protests would have. He peeled back the bandaging carefully. The edges of the deepest wound had started to darken. He cleaned it as best he could, but without proper antibiotics, infection was inevitable. Her hand caught his wrist as he worked. "Vincent!" He looked up. Her amber eyes held his with uncomfortable clarity. "If I don't make it, you'll make it. Listen to me." Her grip tightened. "The data chips. Get them to the relay station. Broadcast everything. Don't let this be for nothing." "You're going to broadcast them yourself." "I'm being realistic." "You're giving up." Something flashed in her eyes. Anger, maybe, or the ghost of her warrior training reasserting itself. "I don't give up, but I know when the odds are against me." Vincent finished bandaging the wound and sat back on his heels. "The odds were against you when I found you. You're still here. Because you were stubborn enough to stay. So be stubborn enough to survive." A smile tugged at her lips despite everything. "Is that a medical order?" "It's common sense." She reached up, fingers brushing his cheek. The touch was gentle, exploratory. "You have dirt here." "I've been crawling through a jungle." "It suits you, makes you look less like a medic and more like a soldier." "I am a soldier." "No." Her hand lingered against his face. "Soldiers kill. You save." Vincent caught her hand, holding it against his cheek. Her skin was warmer than it should be, fever setting in. "We need to move. The longer we wait, the worse you'll get." "Then help me up." He pulled her to her feet. She swayed, catching herself against his shoulder. For a moment they stood pressed together, her forehead against his collarbone, his arms around her waist. She fit against him, despite the difference in their species, despite everything that should have made this strange or wrong. "I can walk," she said, but didn't move away. "I know. You don't have to carry me." "I know that too." She pulled back enough to look at him. The vulnerability in her expression was startling. This woman who had commanded troops, who had refused orders that would have damned her conscience, who had held a blade to his throat and meant it. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked. "Doing what?" "Choosing me, over and over. Every time you could walk away, you stay." Vincent brushed a strand of pink hair from her face. "Maybe I don't want to walk away. We're from different species, different worlds. After this is over, if we survive, we go back to being enemies." "Do we?" The question hung between them. Ashira searched his face as if the answer might be written there. Then she leaned in and kissed him. It was tentative at first, testing. Her lips were softer than he expected, warmer. He responded without thinking, one hand moving to the back of her neck, the other sliding around her waist. She made a sound, half surprise, half something else, and deepened the kiss. They broke apart, breathing hard. Ashira's pupils had dilated, the gold flecks in her amber eyes more pronounced. "That was... yeah. We shouldn't have done that." "Probably not. It complicates things." "Everything's already complicated." She laughed, a real laugh this time, and kissed him again. This one was less tentative, more demanding. Her hands found his hair, his moved down her back, mapping the ridges of her spine through the underlayer. When they finally separated, they were both shaking. "We need to move," Vincent said, voice rough. "We do." Neither of them moved. Then engines roared overhead, close enough that the downdraft bent the ferns around them, and reality crashed back. Vincent grabbed his pack while Ashira drew a blade he hadn't known she still had. They moved as one, heading east through the undergrowth. The river appeared suddenly, a wide expanse of rushing water cutting through the jungle. On the far side, Vincent could see the relay station rising above the trees, a neutral facility marked with the symbols of the Galactic Collective. Safety, or as close to it as they were going to get. "Can you swim?" he asked. "Yes, but the current will pull us downstream. We'll need to aim for that sandbar and cross from there." Vincent studied the water, fast, deep, probably cold enough to shock the system. With Ashira injured, it was going to be brutal. "Stay close to me," he said. They entered the water together. The current hit immediately, trying to tear them apart. Vincent grabbed Ashira's hand, pulling her against him as they fought toward the sandbar. Her breathing was labored, each stroke costing her. Halfway across, her grip weakened. "Don't you dare," Vincent said, hauling her closer. "Stay with me." Her eyes focused on him with effort. "Stubborn." "You have no idea." They reached the sandbar, both gasping. Ashira collapsed on the sand, chest heaving. Vincent checked her wounds. The bandaging had held, but barely. They had one more stretch to cross. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded, pushing herself up. They entered the water again. This crossing was shorter but harder, the current pulling viciously at their legs. Vincent kept his arm around Ashira's waist, practically dragging her through the water. When they finally reached the far bank, they crawled out and lay on the mud, exhausted. Above them, the relay station's towers reached toward the sky. Safety was minutes away. But behind them, on the opposite bank, figures emerged from the jungle, human and alien soldiers working together, weapons raised. Vincent pulled Ashira to her feet. They stumbled toward the relay station, feet slipping in mud, lungs burning. Weapons fire erupted behind them. Warning shots or poor aim, Vincent couldn't tell. The station's entrance was ahead, the neutral zone boundary marked by a shimmering barrier. They crossed it together as the first real shots rang out, the barrier absorbing the energy. On this side, they were protected by interstellar law. On the other side, their combined armies watched them with weapons still raised. Ashira leaned heavily against Vincent, her hand pressed to his chest. "We made it." "We're not done yet." "I know." She looked up at him, exhaustion and determination mixing in her expression. "But we're here, together." Vincent tightened his arm around her waist as they turned toward the relay station entrance. Together. Whatever came next, they would face it the same way they'd gotten here, refusing to let go. The relay station's interior was stark white and sterile, a jarring contrast to days spent in jungle mud and blood. An automated security system scanned them at the entrance, blinking yellow at their weapons before allowing entry. Vincent supported Ashira as they moved deeper into the facility, leaving wet footprints on the pristine floor. A technician, human, middle-aged, wearing the gray uniform of the Galactic Collective, emerged from a side corridor and froze at the sight of them. "Medical emergency," Vincent said. "She needs treatment now." The technician's eyes moved from Vincent's medical insignia to Ashira's wounds to the weapons both armies had trained on them from beyond the barrier. "Follow me." They were led to a medical bay. Vincent lowered Ashira onto an examination table while the technician pulled up her vital readings on a display. The numbers weren't good. Elevated temperature, erratic cardiovascular rhythm, white blood cell count indicating advanced infection. "I can stabilize her," the technician said, "but she needs a full medical facility. We're just a communications hub." "Stabilize her," Vincent said. "We'll worry about the rest after." The technician worked efficiently, administering broad-spectrum antibiotics and fluids while Vincent hovered close enough to supervise. Ashira's eyes had closed, her breathing evening out as the medication took effect. The gray tint under her blue skin began to fade. "She'll sleep for a few hours," the technician said. "Those antibiotics hit hard. You should rest too." Vincent shook his head. "I need to access your communications array." "That requires authorization." "We have evidence of a conspiracy to start this war, evidence that proves both sides were manipulated by a third party." Vincent pulled the data chips from his pack. "This needs to be broadcast on all military and civilian channels. Now." The technician stared at the chips. Those are extraordinary claims." "With extraordinary proof. Are you going to help us or not?" A long pause, then the technician nodded. "This way." The communication center occupied the top floor of the relay station. Banks of equipment lined the walls, displays showing real-time feeds from across the sector. Vincent connected the first data chip to the main console while the technician pulled up broadcast protocols. "This will take about 20 minutes to upload and disseminate," the technician said. "Once it starts, you can't stop it. Everyone will see this. High command, civilian populations, diplomatic corps, everyone." Good. Vincent initiated the upload sequence. Progress bars appeared on multiple displays, data flowing outward through the relay network. He watched the percentages climb, 10%, 20, 30, each tick bringing them closer to exposing the truth. The door opened behind him. Vincent turned to find Ashira standing there, leaning against the frame. She looked steadier than she had, though exhaustion still lined her features. "You should be resting," he said. "I wanted to see this." She moved to stand beside him, her hand finding his on the console. "How long?" 15 minutes. They watched the upload progress together. At 60%, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The technician's hands flew across controls, pulling up external feeds. "We have incoming," the technician said. "Multiple ships, human and alien. They're demanding we stop the broadcast." "Can they force their way in?" Vincent asked. "Not legally, but if they're willing to violate neutral territory?" On the displays, ships took up positions around the relay station. Weapons systems powered up, targeting arrays locking onto the building. Vincent felt Ashira tense beside him. "They're going to destroy the station," she said quietly. "They can't. Interstellar law." "Means nothing if we're all dead." Her hand tightened on his. "How long until the broadcast completes?" 10 minutes. "That's too long. They'll fire before then." Vincent's mind raced through options. "Can we speed up the upload?" The technician shook his head. "Not without corrupting the data. It has to transmit completely, or it's worthless." Ashira pulled away from Vincent, moving to the communications console. Her fingers moved across the controls with surprising familiarity. "There's another way. We open a direct channel to both command structures. Make them listen." "They won't." "They will if I make them." She activated the channel before Vincent could stop her, her image appearing on displays throughout both fleets. "This is General Ashira Veltane. I'm invoking Protocol 7, a formal challenge to command authority based on evidence of treason." Vincent watched her transform. The exhausted, wounded woman became something else entirely. The general she'd been, radiating authority even covered in bandages and mud. "You left me to die for refusing an unlawful order," she continued. "But before you silenced me, I found proof. Proof that this entire war is a fabrication, that we've been manipulated by an outside force into destroying each other. In 8 minutes, that proof broadcasts across every channel in this sector. You can destroy this station and kill us, but the data is already replicating through the network. You cannot stop the truth." Silence on the channels. Then a voice Vincent recognized, Colonel Hendricks. "Hayes, if you can hear this, stand down, return to custody, and we'll arrange medical treatment for your prisoner." Vincent moved into the camera's field of view. "She's not my prisoner, Colonel, and I'm not standing down, not until everyone sees what we found." Another voice, this one speaking Ashira's language. Vincent's translator rendered it. "General Veltane, you have been declared dead and your family name struck from records. You have no authority to invoke Protocol 7. "Then you have nothing to fear from listening," Ashira said. "Unless you already know what this evidence will show, unless you were part of the conspiracy." The channels erupted in argument, human and alien commanders shouting over each other, some demanding immediate attack, others calling for restraint. Through it all, the upload percentage continued climbing, 75, 80, 85. Vincent felt Ashira swaying beside him. He caught her waist, steadying her. She leaned into him without taking her eyes from the displays. "They're arming weapons," the technician said, voice tight with fear. "How long?" Ashira asked. 3 minutes to upload completion, 2 minutes until they can fire." "We're not going to make it," Vincent said. Ashira turned to look at him. "Then we go down together." He pulled her closer, his forehead against hers. "I'm sorry, I should have." "Don't." Her hand came up to his face. "You gave me something worth dying for. That's more than most people ever get." On the displays, weapons reached full charge, targeting solutions locked. Both fleets prepared to fire in unison, a final act of cooperation born from shared fear of the truth. 95%, 98. Vincent kissed her. Not desperate or rushed, but slow and deliberate. A promise that even this moment, even facing death, he chose her. She responded with equal intensity, her hand fisting in his shirt. 100%. The data transmitted in a massive pulse, flooding every receiver in range. On the displays, the first files opened automatically: communication logs, fabricated intelligence reports, records of manipulation spanning years. The conspiracy laid bare for everyone to see. And beneath it all, a new file Vincent hadn't seen before. Ashira must have added it during the upload. Strategic projections showing an invasion fleet, thousands of ships from the third-party species, waiting just outside the sector, waiting for humanity and Ashira's people to finish destroying each other. The weapons arrays on the surrounding ships powered down. Vincent and Ashira broke apart, breathing hard. On the channels, silence had fallen. Then Colonel Hendricks spoke again, her voice different now. Shocked, angry, but no longer directed at them. "All human forces, stand down, redirect scanners to Sector 773. We need confirmation of these invasion projections." The alien commander echoed the order in his own language. Ships began moving, reorienting toward the coordinates Ashira had provided. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then sensors began reporting back. Contacts, thousands of them, exactly where the projections indicated. "It's real," someone whispered over the open channel. "It's all real." Ashira's legs gave out. Vincent caught her, lowering them both to the floor. She rested her head against his shoulder, exhaustion finally claiming her. "We did it," she murmured. "You did it. That Protocol 7 challenge bought us the time we needed." "We," she corrected, her hand finding his, "together." The technician appeared above them, emergency medical kit in hand. "Let me help her." Vincent nodded, but didn't let go of Ashira's hand. On the displays around them, the two fleets began coordinating, sharing sensor data, establishing communication protocols, preparing for the real enemy that had been hiding in the darkness. The war wasn't over, but it had changed, and in the center of that change, two people from opposite sides held on to each other and refused to let go. 3 weeks later, Vincent stood in a tribunal chamber that smelled of polished metal and tension. The room was split down the middle. Human officials on one side, Ashira's people on the other. Above them, holographic displays showed the joint fleet engaging the invasion force at the sector's edge. Ashira sat in the defendant's chair, fully healed now, wearing simple gray instead of her general's armor. Restraints locked her wrists to the armrests. Vincent sat in the gallery, close enough to see the controlled neutrality of her expression. She hadn't looked at him since entering. High Arbiter Kaelson spoke first, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "General Ashira Veltane, you stand accused of desertion, collaboration with enemy forces, and violation of direct military orders. How do you answer?" "Guilty," Ashira said, "to all charges as stated." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Vincent's hands tightened on the railing. They discussed this. Her lawyer had advised a more nuanced plea, but Ashira had refused. Colonel Hendricks stood on the human side. "The evidence General Veltane provided has proven invaluable. Without her actions, both our species would have continued destroying each other. That has to count for something." "It counts for context," Kaelson said, "not absolution. Our laws exist for reasons that transcend individual circumstances." Vincent watched Ashira's jaw tighten fractionally. "However," Kaelson continued, "there are complications. The human medic's testimony introduces factors our legal framework has never encountered." All eyes turned to Vincent. He stood, meeting the arbiter's gaze. "Vincent Hayes," Kaelson said, "you violated direct orders to save General Veltane's life. You then aided her escape and collaborated in transmitting classified intelligence. Why?" "Because it was the right thing to do." "That is not a legal defense." "It's the only defense I have. She was dying, I'm a medic, nothing else mattered." "And afterward, when you learned who she was?" Vincent glanced at Ashira. She was looking at him now, amber eyes unreadable. Afterward, I learned she'd refused to massacre civilians, that she'd been willing to die rather than become something she couldn't live with, that made her someone worth saving. Worth abandoning your post for? Yes. The word hung in the air. Hendricks closed her eyes. Vincent's military career was over, had been since the moment he'd stayed behind. But he couldn't bring himself to regret it. A new figure stood in the back, elderly, wearing scholar's robes. Historian Venn. He'd been consulting with both sides since the broadcast. High Arbiter, Venn said, if I may. Kaelson gestured permission. Venn moved to the center, a portable display in his hands. Our ancestors had a law rarely invoked in modern times. The preservation debt. It states that when one warrior preserves another's life at great personal cost, a bond is created, a debt that transcends normal military authority. We're aware of this law, Kaelson said. It doesn't apply here. Doesn't it? Vincent Hayes sacrificed everything to preserve General Veltain's life. She used her knowledge to preserve both our species. They saved each other, repeatedly. That's the essence of the preservation debt. The law requires the saved party to invoke it. Venn smiled slightly. Yes, it does. He activated his display. A recording appeared, Ashira in the relay station's medical bay, barely conscious, speaking into a recorder. Vincent recognized the timestamp, that first night while he'd been arranging the broadcast. I, General Ashira Veltan, her recorded voice said, invoke the preservation debt. I claim Vincent Hayes as my life debt guardian. He stayed when he should have fled. He saved me when he should have let me die. I will not release him from this bond, not ever. Vincent stared at the display. She'd done this before the broadcast, before any of them knew if they'd survive. Kaelson's expression shifted, surprise, then something that might have been respect. You invoked the debt before the tribunal was even convened. I knew what would happen, Ashira said. I knew you'd want to punish me. The debt was the only way to prevent that. The law states that a warrior under preservation debt cannot be executed. Their guardian has claim to their life. Kaelson looked at Vincent. Do you accept this claim? Vincent didn't hesitate. I do. Then you understand what it means? She is bound to you. You are responsible for her actions. I understand. And if she violates the terms of her parole? Vincent looked at Ashira. She was watching him with an intensity that made his chest tight. She won't. Kaelson was silent for a long moment. Then he gestured, and the restraints on Ashira's wrists released. General Veltain, you are stripped of rank and military standing, but under the preservation debt, your life is spared. You will serve under joint command, assigned to Vincent Hayes' supervision, for no less than 5 years. You will assist in the war effort against the invasion force. Any violation will result in immediate execution. Do you accept? I accept, Ashira said. Vincent Hayes, do you accept responsibility for this woman's life and actions? I do. Then this tribunal is concluded. Kaelson's gavel struck once. The officials filed out, leaving Vincent and Ashira alone. She stood slowly, rubbing her wrists where the restraints had been. They looked at each other across 10 feet of empty space. You knew, Vincent said, that night at the relay station. You planned this. I planned for the possibility I wasn't sure you'd accept. Did you really think I wouldn't? Ashira moved toward him, steps measured. You'd already sacrificed so much. I thought maybe you'd had enough. Vincent closed the distance between them, his hands coming up to frame her face. I told you in that jungle, I'm not leaving you. I meant it. For 5 years? For however long you'll let me stay. She kissed him then, fierce and possessive, his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. When they broke apart, her forehead rested against his. They're assigning us to the Joint Fleet, she said. Diplomatic liaison roles. Can you handle not being a general? Can you handle not being just a medic? He smiled. I stopped being just a medic the moment I found you. No, her hand came up to cover his heart. You've always been more than that. I just helped you see it. Outside, the war raged on. The invasion force was vast and determined. The Joint Fleet was untested, cobbled together from former enemies. The odds weren't good. But Vincent had learned something in that jungle. Sometimes the right choice had nothing to do with odds or orders. Sometimes it was just about staying when every reason said to leave. "Ready?" Ashira asked. Vincent took her hand, lacing their fingers together. "Together?" "Always." They walked out of the tribunal chamber side by side. Ahead lay a ship that would take them to the joint fleet, to new roles neither had trained for, to a war that would test everything they'd built. The transport waited at the dock, engines humming. As they boarded, Vincent felt Ashira's thumb stroke across his knuckles. He squeezed back, a promise and a vow. The doors closed behind them. Through the viewport, the stars stretched infinite and cold. Somewhere out there, an enemy waited. Somewhere closer, two species learned to trust each other because two people had shown them how. Ashira leaned into Vincent's shoulder as the transport launched. He wrapped his arm around her, holding her close as they accelerated toward their future. Whatever came next, battles or peace, acceptance or rejection, they would face it together. Because that was what the preservation debt really meant. Not obligation or legal maneuvering. Just two people who had saved each other, choosing to keep saving each other for the rest of their lives. The transport punched through the atmosphere. Ahead lay only stars and possibility in each other. Vincent pressed a kiss to Ashira's hair. She turned her face up to his, amber eyes bright with something that looked like hope. He kissed her properly then, slow and thorough. When they finally broke apart, the stars were closer. The joint fleet appeared on the view screen, hundreds of ships moving in coordinated patterns, human and alien working together for the first time in history. "No regrets?" Ashira asked quietly. Vincent looked at her, this woman who had held a blade to his throat and stolen his heart, who had been his enemy and become his everything. "Not one," he said. She smiled, real and unguarded, and kissed him again as the transport docked. Together they stepped into whatever came next, hands joined and hearts certain. The war wasn't over. Their story was just beginning. And neither of them was letting go.